The steering column is now in, so the next task, and it's a big task, is to mount the dampers. I haven't really thought too much about this, but I have left myself all this area to play with. So I need to build some structure and locate the structure within this area and find somewhere on the bottom wishbone to mount them. Let's offer these up and see what they look like. Okay, so I've kept the suspension bits and dampers and springs in a plastic bag, and it is absolutely chock full of oil, and I'm pretty sure the left front one was leaking when I put it away, so it's probably leaked all the oil out. So the rears are pretty much already done. I'm not going to touch them, they're going to go in as is, but the right front, which is the one I don't think is leaking, is this one. I've just had the spring off here. It has some markings on it, same markings that are on the rear as well, so it's the same springs and dampers all the way around, and it says E8 150, which I presume, seeing as I've just measured it, means that this is 8 inches long. I don't know what the E means, and 150 pounds spring pressure. So I am rapidly getting outside of my comfort zone now. I really don't know anything about springs and dampers at all, other than you twizzle the knob to make more damping or less damping, and you change the springs to give you more spring or less spring. But I think just from my limited experience of looking at cars on the paddock, sort of softly sprung rear isn't a bad thing, so 150 pounds is probably okay. Is that good on the front? No idea. I guess we're going to have to drive it to find out, and I'm not going to change it until I really get on track and I've actually driven it and actually know what it feels like. So yeah, so 8 inches spring. This fully open is, let's go from whole centre to whole centre, approximately 13 inches, fully open, and with the bump stop on. Oh, so I went crack there. Well, at least this one looks like it's working. So 13 inches open and approximately 10 inches closed. So there's about 3 inches of travel there, not including the bump stop, which makes sense. Actually would have been easier to measure here, but yeah, 3 inches of travel. So how am I going to mount these? Well, that's a really good question. I mean, plan A is just to mount them on the wishbone there, like that, which does mean they're at quite a high angle. It may well be that ride height from there will need to come up. I just need to have a measure and a think about it. But yeah, ideally, if I can have it something like that, well, that's not good really, is it, from a suspension point of view? So I may have to build something on those wishbones just to raise the angle up. Let me have a think and come back to you.
Thinking for me usually involves coming back to CAD. So I've actually rebuilt the model and added the damper in that you can see here. I've aligned it in such a way on the model here that it's just below the sort of upper wishbone mounts here. Actually, when I went to the garage and started building it again, I actually moved this point up so it was pretty much in line, and then moved it out as well so that it missed this wishbone. One thing that's I can highlight here as well is how close this damper point is to the upright here. So I've actually had to move this point back in real life, so I've got a bit of an angle between there and there. But yeah, you can see the main takeaway here is that this point here, the lower mounting position for the damper, needs to be below the wishbone. So I'm going to have to build something to basically connect to this damper to the lower wishbone here.
Next, I need to fit these dampers. So I've mapped it out on CAD, so I know roughly where I'm going. I'm basically going to put a bar here and weld on these tags, and then I need to put some tags and construct something on this wishbone so that I can put a bolt basically underneath the wishbone and attach the bottom end of this damper. So I've got some 1/2 inch bolts. These are 1/2 inch. It's overkill for this type of car, but I've got the bolts and they'll work fine. So I need to take these 12mm tags and drill them out to 1/2 inch and then basically attach them. That's simple, I hope. Okay, so I've created a spacer here for these ears, really, for this basically to match the match that. So if I lift that up, so basically that will slip nicely in there, plus maybe a washer or two. Job done. Right, so there's the bracket. I'm going to put some steel 1 inch tube here, square tube here, attach this about 1/2 inch below these ones, so I've got better access to these bolts here so they can be undone and done up. Well, there we go, that will go on the car like that. Spot welded in. You can see I've got the damper mounted here and I've got the lower wishbone, and this is approximately where the full bump is. In theory, on my plan it should be a bit higher, but in reality when I've made it up, that's basically where full bump is, and I've still got the bump stop as well, so that could be trimmed down if I need to have a bit more bump, but essentially this is really what it's going to look like, something like that. Now you can't see the depth on my 3D model. I kind of cocked up a little bit because I didn't account for the bolt and the space I would need to get the bolts in, so I've had to move this back a little bit. Let me just change the camera and show you the issue. Okay, you can probably see a little bit better now, but obviously this point here where the wishbone is isn't lining up with where the damper is, so this is going to have to lean back a bit, which it can do, but when it's in position like that, which is approximately where I want it, that's basically as far back as the damper can go. That's not ideal. That means that the damper is going to bind up and potentially damage the bearings, but that's what I've got to do. That's what we've got to play with. Also, we might want to move the wishbone back a bit further to reduce the caster. I don't think I will. I think it'll be fine, and we can adjust it a little bit at the top as well. My get out of jail free card is this misalignment spacer. I think this can be turned down about 5mm, so we can sort of play with this misalignment spacer if we need to. It's what I'm going to run with for now because it's what I got and we haven't got much time left, but yeah, it's going to work. It's just it's not perfect, and obviously I've not considered everything as I should have done because of the rush, but it's okay. It's going to work. I've done one of them. I've also added this support behind here as well, so that will sit like that in the car. It's made out of, these pieces are made out of 2.5mm thick steel, so there's plenty of meat there, and I've put this bracket at the back as well to support it, so this should be fine. But yeah, they don't look pretty.